The fluorescent lights buzz above you as the red alert flashes across the screen, and the whole building feels like it's holding its breath. You stare at the dashboard, 30% of the service down, and you know the only way to bring it back is to stay until the sun disappears behind the skyline. Across the hallway, a colleague laughs over a dinner plate, wine glass catching the candlelight, a notification on his phone reading congratulations on a promotion. You hear the clink of cutlery, the distant hum of a family conversation, while your own breath comes in short, ragged bursts as you type code that no one else wants to touch. What's the most late-night crisis you've ever survived? Drop it in the comments. You swipe your badge, the plastic rectangle cold against your palm, and it feels less like an entry pass and more like a silent contract. The badge has become a promise you made to the organization. I will be here when the lights go out. The inbox on your screen is a river of unread messages, each one a tiny wave threatening to overflow. You click through, answering a client's angry email, fixing a broken report, and then you notice a calendar invite from Alex, the new hire who sat next to you on day one. He smiles, shakes your hand, and you both walk out of the building with identical contracts, identical salaries, and identical expectations. The next morning, the team gathers for the stand-up. The manager points to the whiteboard and says the upcoming product demo is the most important thing on the agenda. He looks at you because you have a reputation for delivering on time. Alex raises his hand, offers to grab coffee for the group, and the manager nods, grateful for the easy camaraderie. You could have asked to share the presentation, but you stay quiet because the habit of staying in the background feels safer than stepping into the spotlight. You walk back to your desk, the coffee mug you've been holding since the night before, now a weighty reminder of how many mornings you've survived on caffeine alone. Midday arrives and the demo crashes. The screen goes black, the client's voice turns sharp, and the room fills with tension. You stay late, rewriting slides, recoding a segment that was never meant to be your responsibility. The clock ticks past midnight, the office lights flicker on and off as the cleaning crew passes, and finally the system comes back online. The client sighs in relief, the manager pats you on the back, and Alex, now with a fresh cup of espresso, jokes about the late-night heroics that will go unnoticed in the next quarterly report. You could have taken credit, but you let the moment pass, because the pattern you followed for years tells you that humility keeps the machine running smoothly. Outside the glass doors, the city is alive. A child waits at a window, eyes glued to the street, wondering why dad never comes home for dinner. Your phone buzzes with a reminder of a birthday you missed, a gym membership that gathers dust, a friend's text asking why you're always busy. The badge on the nightstand glows dimly, a silent sentinel reminding you that the office will always be there, waiting for you to return. You close the laptop, the screen fading to black, and you feel the weight of the decision you just made settle into your bones. You chose reliability over recognition, and the organization has taken note. Weeks turn into months. Alex becomes the person who knows every senior leader's favorite coffee order, who laughs at the right moment in every meeting, who is always present when the manager walks by the hallway. He never stays late to fix broken code. Instead, he sends a quick Slack message, "I've got this," and then disappears, reappearing later with a polished slide deck that highlights the team's achievements. The hallway becomes his stage, the badge his prop, and the coffee mug he carries is always half full, a symbol of his effortless visibility. You, on the other hand, continue to be the silent engine. The inbox never empties. The lights in the office stay on long after the rest of the building has gone dark, and the badge feels heavier each day. You watch as Alex receives a shout-outs email for driving collaboration, while your own contributions remain hidden in the background, recorded only in the system's logs. You wonder if the extra hours you put in are building a career or simply feeding the organization's need for an unpaid safety net. The decision to stay late on that first crisis has become a habit, an irreversible path that now defines how the company sees you. One afternoon, a new project lands on your desk. It's a high-stakes initiative that could reshape the product line. But the brief is vague, the timeline unrealistic, and the resources promised are already allocated elsewhere. Alex walks by, offers to help coordinate, and you feel the familiar tug of responsibility. You could take the project, dive in, and risk burning out, or you could document the gaps, flag the unrealistic expectations, and let the manager decide. The choice feels like a fork in the road you've been traveling for years. You pick up the pen, start a detailed report, and for the first time you make the invisible work visible. The room feels colder as you type, the fluorescent lights casting long shadows across the desk. You hear the distant chatter of coworkers planning weekend trips, the muffled laughter from a nearby conference room, and the soft music from a coffee shop down the street. You realize that every time you have rescued a crisis, the organization has learned to rely on you as its insurance policy, never fixing the underlying problems. The realization hits like a sudden power outage. Your greatest strength has become the system's favorite resource to exploit. If this is blowing your mind, hit that subscribe button and let's keep exploring together. You finish the report, attach it to the project folder, and send a concise email to the manager, copying the senior leadership. You watch the read receipt turn green, feel a knot in your stomach, and wonder if this act of transparency will cost you the safety you've built. The decision to expose the flaw is irreversible. There is no going back to the quiet hero role you once knew. The hallway, once a place you passed unnoticed, now feels like a stage you might finally step onto, but on your own terms. The story pauses here at the moment you press send, because the next chapter will show whether the organization rewards the risk you took, or whether the invisible engine finally shifts its gears. What do you think about this turning point? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear your perspective. If this resonated with you, smash that like button, because the journey ahead is only getting more intense. You stare at the blinking cursor, the quiet hum of the server room a low thrum beneath your thoughts. The email has left your outbox, a thin line of code that now belongs to the collective memory of the organization. For a heartbeat you wonder if the act of exposing the flaw will dissolve the safety net you have woven around yourself for years. Then the screen flickers, a new notification pops up. A reply from the senior director, brief, polite, thanking you for the thoroughness and promising a follow-up meeting. The tone is measured, the words chosen to acknowledge without committing. You feel a knot tighten in your chest, a mixture of relief and dread. The invisible engine has heard you, but it has not yet decided whether to reward the risk or to tighten the gears around you. The next morning the office feels different. The fluorescent lights cast a harsher glare. The coffee mugs line the break room like silent sentinels. You walk past the badge reader, the plastic card sliding through with a soft click that now sounds like a toll. In the hallway, Alex leans against the wall, a half-smile playing on his lips as he chats with the VP of Operations. He gestures toward the conference room where a meeting is about to start, his voice low but confident. You catch a glimpse of the agenda on the screen: Project Review, Risk Assessment. Your name appears under the bullet point, Data Integrity Review. The room is already filling with senior leaders, their faces a blend of curiosity and expectation. You take a seat at the long table, the polished wood reflecting the pale morning light. The director opens the meeting, his eyes scanning the room before settling on you. He asks you to summarize the findings you sent overnight. You stand, the weight of the badge against your chest a reminder of the obligations you have carried for so long. You speak clearly, outlining the gaps, the missed deadlines, the cascading effects of the earlier outage. As you speak, you notice the eyes of the senior leaders shifting, some narrowing, others widening. The director nods, his expression unreadable, then turns to Alex. Alex, could you share how we plan to address the resource allocation moving forward? Alex rises, his voice smooth, his gestures deliberate. He outlines a new workflow, a redistribution of responsibilities that subtly moves the burden away from the team you have been holding together. When the meeting ends, the director approaches you. He thanks you for the honesty, then asks, "Do you think we could formalize this review process? Perhaps you could lead a small task force." The question hangs in the air, a fork in the road you have been traveling for years. You could accept, cementing your role as the organization's insurance policy, or you could decline, stepping back from the invisible contract you have been living under. The decision feels like a tremor in the floor beneath you, reverberating through every choice you have made. You walk back to your desk, the hallway now a corridor of possibilities. The coffee mug in your hand feels heavier, its ceramic surface warm from the steam that has long since faded. You glance at the inbox, the red flag still blinking, but now you see a new message. A request for a one-on-one with the director to discuss the task force. You pause, the cursor blinking on the draft you have been working on all night. You type a brief reply, thanking him for the opportunity, but expressing a desire to focus on delivering current projects before taking on additional responsibilities. You hit send, the words turning into a shield. That afternoon, you receive a call from a former colleague who left the company 2 years ago. He tells you about a consulting firm that is looking for someone with deep operational knowledge, someone who can translate complex systems into actionable strategies. He mentions that the firm values people who have survived the corporate grind, who understand the hidden incentives that keep the engine humming. The conversation feels like a window opening onto a different world, one where your expertise is not a liability but a currency. You spend the evening at home, the kitchen light casting a soft glow over the table where your child is drawing. The badge sits on the counter, a silent reminder of the obligations you have carried. You look at the drawing, a simple house with a sun and a tree, and you realize that the house is missing a roof. The roof, you think, is the protection you have been building for the organization, but it also shields you from the storm outside. You wonder if it is time to redesign the roof, to make it stronger, or perhaps to step out from under it entirely. The next week, you attend a networking event at a downtown co-working space. The room is filled with entrepreneurs, freelancers, and a few corporate veterans. You strike up a conversation with a venture capitalist who asks, "What do you think is the biggest waste of talent in large organizations?" You answer, not with a lecture, but with a story of the night you stayed alone in the server room, the moment you sent the email, the meeting where the director offered you a task force. He listens, nodding, his eyes reflecting the same realization that has been dawning on you. The system rewards predictability, not brilliance. It rewards the invisible hero who never asks for credit, because that hero becomes the organization's safety net. After the event, you receive an invitation to speak at a conference on organizational dynamics. The theme is Beyond the Visible, uncovering hidden incentives. You accept, feeling a strange mix of excitement and apprehension. The preparation forces you to articulate the lessons you have lived through, to turn personal experience into a narrative that can help others see the invisible gears turning beneath the polished surface of corporate life. On the day of the conference, you stand on a stage illuminated by soft spotlights. The audience a sea of faces ranging from fresh graduates to seasoned executives. You begin not with a PowerPoint, but with a simple image. A coffee mug, half empty, steam rising. You tell the story of the night you stayed late, the split screen of you and the colleague at dinner, the email you sent, the meeting that followed. You describe the invisible engine, the way it favors those who keep the lights on without demanding applause. You speak of Alex, the colleague who mastered visibility, who learned to navigate the corridors with a smile, who never had to stay late because he understood the rules of political stability. You contrast his path with yours, showing how both survived, but in different ways. As you speak, you notice a shift in the room. The executives lean forward, the fresh graduates nod, the seasoned veterans exchange glances. You realize that the story is resonating because it reveals a truth that many have felt but could not name. You finish with a question: what will you choose to be in the invisible economy of your organization? The applause is warm, but more importantly, you see people approaching you after the talk, asking how they can apply these insights, how they can protect their own roofs while still building something stronger. In the weeks that follow, you begin to restructure your own relationship with work. You document every project, every handoff, every decision, creating a transparent trail that no longer allows the organization to take your competence for granted. You set boundaries, refusing to answer emails after a certain hour, scheduling focus blocks where you are unavailable for ad hoc requests. You start a small consulting practice on the side, leveraging the expertise you have honed over years of being the organization's insurance policy. The income from the side work grows, giving you a cushion that makes the corporate safety net less essential. Alex, meanwhile, continues to thrive within the system. He moves up the ladder, his name becoming synonymous with reliability and charm. He never stays late, never sacrifices personal moments, Yet he is never truly at risk of being let go because he has become a fixture in the social fabric of the company. You meet him occasionally for coffee, and he shares stories of his own battles, of the times he had to navigate office politics to keep his projects funded. You both recognize that survival in the corporate organism requires a blend of competence, visibility, and strategic boundaries. One evening, as you sit on the balcony of your apartment, the city lights twinkling below, you reflect on the journey. The badge that once felt like a chain now sits on the table, a relic of a past you have transformed. The coffee mug, once a symbol of endless nights, now holds a fresh brew, its steam rising in a rhythm that matches your heartbeat. You realize that the true reward is not the title on a door, nor the praise in a meeting, but the freedom to choose how and when you contribute, and the ability to leverage your expertise beyond the walls that once confined it. The invisible engine still turns, its gears grinding in the background of every organization. It will continue to reward predictability, to protect those who keep the lights on without demanding applause. But you have learned to navigate its currents, to turn its hidden incentives into your own advantage. You have become a player who understands the rules, who can step into the spotlight when it matters, and step back when it does not. You have built a roof that not only shelters you but also lets you see the sky beyond. If this story has sparked something inside you, if you see a part of yourself in the late-night server room or the coffee-filled break room, let a like ripple through the algorithm. Share this with someone who might be stuck in the invisible net, and consider subscribing so you don't miss the next chapter of uncovering the hidden forces that shape our professional lives. The journey is far from over, and there are many more gears to explore. Remember, the people who truly change their lives aren't the ones who work the hardest. They're the ones who stop donating their excellence to systems that never intended to reward it, and instead, redirect that excellence toward creating leverage, freedom, and purpose. The corporate organism may keep rewarding the safe and predictable, but you have the power to rewrite the script, to turn your competence into a passport that can take you wherever you choose to go. The next step is yours. You walk out of the building at sunrise, the city still yawning, and you feel the weight of the badge loosen on your chest. The hallway lights flicker one last time, as if acknowledging the shift you have made. In the quiet of that moment you understand that the true currency of any organization is not the hours you log, but the narrative you own. Every time you chose to stay silent you fed the machine. Every time you chose to speak, you rewrote a line in its story. That is the leverage you now carry. An awareness that the system will always favor the predictable, but it also respects the unmistakable signal of someone who knows when to be visible and when to retreat. Imagine a future where the coffee mug you once used to survive becomes a vessel for celebration, where the inbox that once overflowed with unseen requests now contains only the messages you have chosen to answer. Picture yourself walking into rooms not as the emergency fix, but as the strategist who sets the agenda, the partner who shapes the outcome, the architect of the next opportunity. The corporate organism will keep humming, but you have learned to conduct its rhythm instead of being swept by it. If this resonates, let a comment drop below and tell me which moment in your own career felt like the turning point you just witnessed. Your story might be the spark someone else needs to see the invisible gears and decide to step out of the shadows. And if you haven't already, hit the like button, share this with a colleague who's still caught in the endless cycle, and subscribe so you won't miss the next deep dive into the forces that shape our work lives. The next chapter is waiting, and the choice to write it belongs to you.